sing, Trish.
And without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our president, Sam Berger, to start the proceedings.
Good morning, everybody. Come on in. Come. You can come in. You can stand on the. It's like we're looking at a montage of a bar mitzvah. You can come closer. Come on in. Where's Rabbi Schuck, by the way? Did he run away?
He's uninstalled.
There he comes. He was in the kitchen getting a snack. Well, distinguished rabbis, chazanim, teachers, family, and friends, on behalf of my fellow officers and the trustees at Beth Synagogue Center, I'm really excited to welcome you to the installation of Rabbi David Schuck. And first, I also want to thank Chazan El Narad and Mark Seidenfeld, who were the co-chairs for this event. This is a really momentous occasion for our shul and all of Westchester. It's mind-boggling to me that our shul has been in existence for over 100 years. And in the past 70 years, yes, 70 years counting today, there have only been 3 rabbi installation ceremonies at Bethel. This to me is a clear indication of the stability of our shul. Rabbi Melvin Cerner, our previous beloved rabbi, who served our community for 43 years, sent me an email that he asked me to read to those assembled here today. And those of you know Rabbi Cerner, it had a lot of little print like E. Cummings on his email, and not spaces necessarily between the period and the next letter. But he writes, "Dear Sam, I regret that I am unable to be present in person, but I do want you, Rabbi Schuck, and the entire Bethel community to know that I am thinking of you today. Blessed with an outstanding team of dedicated professionals and a wonderful cadre of volunteers, the shul is positioned for a great future. Needless to say, the senior rabbi at the helm is a most crucial position, and I am delighted that such a capable leader as Rabbi David Schuck serves as Bethel's senior rabbi. Having invested many years of my heart and soul in the Seder community, and feeling such respect and affection for its members, I clearly have a vested interest in your well-being. I am confident that with the loyalty and support of the community, Rabbi Schuck will build upon the many wonderful traditions of Bethel, but will also create new programs and new traditions for the future. My personal best wishes and prayers for a Shana Tova, a year of good health, joy, and spiritual growth, Melvin N. Cerner, Rabbi, and he put in bold, Emeritus. Rabbi Cerner, I think, is spot on. For those of us that had the opportunity to hear Rabbi Schuck teach, listen to one of his sermons, attend the contemplative, see I pronounced it right, contemplative minyan, participate in a schmooze, or meet with him one-on-one, since he started a little over a year ago, it is clear that the shul has made an excellent choice. This is an unbelievably exciting time as we are continuing our new chapter in the shul's history. As president, I have the privilege to meet with Rabbi Schuck at least weekly. And I must say, I really look forward to our meetings, and it's one of the highlights of my entire week. Occasionally our meetings can give me a headache or two, but I get to see a rabbi that is so caring and passionate, decisive yet humble, thoughtful, insightful, and measured. very process-oriented, and overflowing with new and wonderful ideas how to make Bethel even more special and spiritual. By the way, an example of this is our totally new Slichot service, set for next Saturday night at 8 o'clock. I hope you've seen the videos sent periodically to everyone over the last few weeks, and with our famous Emmy stars that are here. If not, go to our website, Facebook, or YouTube to see them. And look for additional videos in the days leading up to Slichot. And I hope everyone will be here next Saturday night for our new Slichot services with a band and a lot of other new innovations. Friends, I really believe that the future bodes well for Bethel and our community. Rabbi Schuck, his wife Tali, and their 3 children have already become embraced members of our family. And we look forward to many years together as he leads Bethel to even greater heights on our Jewish journey. By the way, in Yirtzeh Hashem, when you have your 40th anniversary, I will be 100 years old. Rabbi Schuck, on the table over here, as a token of our appreciation and affection, we've selected 2 gifts that we think you'll really enjoy. You can open them later. But now, I have the privilege of welcoming and introducing Rabbi Barry Dov Katz, the rabbi of the conservative synagogue Adat Israel of Riverdale. He's been there since 1998. Rabbi Katz is a dear friend, colleague, and mentor of Rabbi Schuck. In the 1 year that Rabbi Schuck's been here at Bethel, in our meetings, in response to queries, or some of our unusual circumstances, and some new or crazy ideas, Rabbi Schuck often says, "Sam, give me a little time. I want to run it by Barry." Rabbi Katz, thank you for making the time to join us here today, and we all look forward to what you have to say. Rabbi Katz, there you are.
Thank you, Sam. 19 years ago, as Sam said, I came to Riverdale, New York to interview and then ultimately to take the job as rabbi of the conservative synagogue there. And people were really anxious about, that Riverdale is in the Bronx. And they tried to convince me that Riverdale was really an okay place to move because it's basically Westchester, they told me. Basically Westchester. And a couple years after I moved in, I think that anxiety was still around for people in the congregation. And we knew that here in Westchester, right across the street from your show, you had a Starbucks, and there were pretty much Starbucks every place, but there were no Starbucks in Riverdale. And one woman came over to me and she said, I know it's the Bronx and we don't have a Starbucks, but we have subways and we have lower taxes, but it's pretty much just like Westchester. So now that I know the area and I know the differences a little bit better, I know that the challenges faced by religious institutions, whether they're here or in the city or around the country, and especially conservative synagogues, are pretty similar. In a world where things change so fast and social media has taken the place of real social interactions, people are starved for community. We really want authenticity, and we want meaning, and we want a clear voice that can articulate the truths that should be self-evident. We want someone who's going to encourage us to talk to each other and to listen. And that's why I'm really excited to be here today to install David Schuck as your rabbi. Because David gets it. He's a person who discerns what is in his own soul. He's a friend who can help you understand what's in your soul. And he's a rabbi who's going to listen to each one of you and your stories. He'll respect your voices and he'll lift them up. And he's going to help you articulate a vision for this community that's at once in deep conversation with Bethel's remarkable history, with Jewish values, and with today. And along the way, David is going to laugh at himself and he's going to laugh with you. I tried really hard to come up with a story that I could share with you, a funny story about David. And I realized after having spoken to many of his friends that I couldn't come up with one that would be appropriate for the celebration with people of all ages. So you're going to have to discover those or invent those on your own. So for humor, I had to turn to the Talmud. So there's a discussion. It's kind of a wacky discussion. There's Talmud scholars here, they can tell me more about it later, but about some wacky ways to sound the shofar. So let's just say you decide to take your shofar and sound it into a cistern, hearing a little bit of the shofar and a little bit of the echo. Have you fulfilled your obligation to hear the shofar, right? It's not so clear, shofar or echo. Let's just say you happen to be at Starbucks across the street from Bethel on Rosh Hashanah. Not that I'm recommending that. And you hear the shofar sounded from Bethel. You weren't really planning on listening to the shofar, but you heard it. Does that count as having heard the shofar on Rosh Hashanah? And my favorite one is a scenario where one shofar is improbably placed inside of another shofar. I don't even know where they came up with this one, like why someone would do that, or exactly how it works. Maybe some of the kids can figure out the mechanics of a shofar inside of a shofar. But a Braita in Masechah Rosh Hashanah teaches Natan shofar betop shofar, im kol pnimi shama yatsa, im kol chitzon shama lo yatsa. You put a small shofar inside of a large one. If you hear the sound of the inner shofar, you have fulfilled your obligation. If you hear the sound of the outer shofar, you have not fulfilled your obligation. So what's this about? It could teach that two shofar sounds at the same time don't count, kind of connected to the echo thing from the cistern. Or it could be something about the acoustics of shofar and needing to hear a shofar unmediated by anything else. But Rabbi Yehuda Amital, a sensitive teacher, here's a more personal message. Here's what he writes. The Holy One yearns to hear our inner voice, kol pnimi, not the external one. This is the true voice that we need to make heard on Rosh Hashanah. And it's only when we raise up our inner voice from the depths of our hearts in purity that then we fulfill our obligation. God wants our inner voices on Rosh Hashanah and throughout the year. David, you're someone who is particularly attuned to this. I know that you treasure time when you can just sit and listen to that inner voice, to listen to yourself. And whatever comes, whether it's the questioning voice, or the remembering voice, or the irreverent voice, or the still small voice that starts with your breath and turns into beautiful words and thoughts, you're okay with that. In this you've taught me so much. But what's special about you is that you also make room for other voices. I met David when he was starting his work as rabbi at the Pelham Jewish Center. And our conversations during that year were about practical things, the things that you don't learn in rabbinical school and probably can't learn in rabbinical school, the how-tos of being a rabbi. But it became very clear to me quite quickly that David and I would be friends. After one discussion, a difficult discussion about something that was going on in David's life, he turned to me and he said, you know, if there's ever anything hard in your life and you want to share it, then I'd be glad to listen. And just like that, I knew that we would be friends. David encourages people to express their fears, whether it's on a weekend like this, trying to discern what happened in Chelsea and what that means for our city, whether it's your hopes or your triumphs or your disappointments. David listens to it all without judgment. And then what's really special about David, he manages to say in a way that does not feel like your therapist, why do you feel that way? And he really wants to know in a human way. More important, he wants you to know. He wants you to listen to what is gathering up inside of you. And David brings all of this to his work as a rabbi. Sam mentioned two other rabbis who served in the past 70 years of this congregation. I'm pleased to have connections to both of them. I met Rabbi Cerner when I was a rabbi in Monroe, New York, my previous pulpit, and also in Riverdale, when I was part of the Westchester, Rockland, and when I showed up, either Orange County or Bronx Rabbinical Assembly region. And it was just so clear that he built relationships that last generations. And when I was on sabbatical, my first sabbatical in Israel many years ago, I lived in an apartment owned by the Golovensky family, the children of Rabbi David Golovensky, and from them I heard many stories of the early years of this congregation and the energy that was in building this as a conservative community. And now, Rabbi Schuck, you need to tell him the stories of this synagogue's past. And you need to tell him all about the stories from the synagogues, the other synagogues, whether it's in the Bronx or other places in New York or around the country or around the world where you grew up. You need to share with him the path that brought you to Judaism, or the path that led you to be connected in some way to the Jewish community. Tell him about the times that you felt distant, and tell him when you felt most connected. Tell him when you disagree with him, and have faith that he can hold this along with all of the other parts of your relationship. David's going to ask questions. We traveled to Russia together as part of a UGA Federation of New York mission, and we were having lunch in the famous Choral Synagogue in Moscow. And it was a pretty boring lunch. The food was very good, but I think David actually got sick from that food. It wasn't so good. I enjoyed the food. I think David had something with a little mayonnaise. Didn't work for him. But the speeches were really boring. And at one point, David raised his hand and asked a question of the rabbi who was speaking. And the question pushed the rabbi just a little bit to get beyond the surface level discussion, the blah, 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 you're tourists from America. And I could see this rabbi start for a minute, and then he looked at David, and there was something in the way that you asked the question that made it clear to him that it was okay to share more. So okay to share some of the complexities about what it's like to be a Jew in Russia these days. David builds community one voice at a time, and he will find ways to deepen the discourse here as you explore the dreams for your shul. David thinks creatively and broadly about what it means to be Jewish and what Jews need in the 21st century. David's going to be honest about sharing his vision. It's not going to come all at once. It's going to come in fits and starts, and it's going to change as you talk, if you talk with him. Sometimes what he shares from the pulpit, his ideas about the congregation will take your breath away. And I mean that in the best sense and the scariest sense. It's going to make you laugh and it's going to make you cry. It's going to be challenging. But together, that process will let you discover what is inside. What is the kol pnimi? What's the inner voice of this place? Commenting on that part of the Talmud that I shared earlier about the importance of hearing the sound of the inner shofar, the Tiferet Uziel, a Hasidic rabbi, conjures up an image like this one of a room full of people, hopefully soon singing and dancing. At first, it's just noise. But if people sing, he says, from the deepest parts of their souls, if they dance with all of their bodies, then if you listen carefully, then you'll discern the voice that comes from God in that big, noisy room filled with people who think lots of different things, but are all singing and dancing together. When David sings, when he interacts with people, you know that he is listening for that holy voice. And he will amplify it, and he will articulate it, and he will express it in your nursery school, in your Hebrew school, in your youth programs, in your summer camp, in your services, in your classes, in your social activities. Blow up the place, but don't change anything, is how a friend described to me the job of a rabbi these days. We have to be willing to think about change, consider it, and cautiously implement it. At the same time, we have to make sure that the core doesn't change. Shabbat still has to transport us, and weddings have to make us dance, and the sound of the shofar has to make us hopeful about the year to come. And most of all, we need to make sure that our kids want to be here. They want to be inside shul, inside the Jewish community. We need God at the center. We have to work to make sure that the delicate fabric of community, so hard to create and so easy to shred, remains intact. And through it all, rabbis have to find a way to just love Jews. Being a rabbi like David is a rabbi is not easy, but all of you can help. Because one of the things about good rabbis is that the very qualities that make them good, their compassion, how much they care, their desire to build a rabbinate based in relationships, all of that makes them vulnerable. You don't want to have a rabbi who's calloused and cynical. Let him tell you what he needs to be successful, and then speak to him from your hearts. Trust him and have patience with him. Help him to keep Tali and Noam and Nadav and Ziv and the other members of his family, all the Aldubis and the Schucks, at the center of his life, as they should be. Be kind to each other as you explore the unmapped terrain of this new relationship. The poet Mary Oliver describes starting off on a journey like this, a life journey, and it felt very much like I thought this morning would feel. She talks about how there were many reasons not to start the journey, but still, one day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. She goes on to describe what it was like to feel the pull of those other paths, those other voices telling you, no, 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 pay attention to this, pay attention to that. But then she continues, you start anyway. It was already late enough and a wild night and the road full of fallen branches and stones, but little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world. A new voice that you slowly recognized as your own. Or the call of a shofar inside of another shofar. That inner voice, that kol pnimi. We are all waiting to hear what Beth has to say, along with Rabbi Schuck. So now I present to you the man I turn to when I need advice about beer or coffee. A passionate Phillies fan, as we say in Philadelphia, an energetic Eagles man.
Hey, Eagles!
A walk in the woods with his dog, spend Shabbat with good friends and family in Israel, singer of sweet melodies, lover of family and Judaism, my friend and your rabbi, David Ari.
I cry very easily. You learn that about me. Oh, I don't know why I'm so. In Masechet Brachot, our sages teach us that when we experience a moment in which we and others benefit together, we recite the bracha hatov hametiv, a blessing that acknowledges the goodness of God and the fact that God extends goodness to all of us. And this moment, we experience God's goodness as it's manifest in the shared connections between all of you, and as I grow into this community between us as well, because we're really blessed to have found one another. Hatov hametiv, the God who is good and bestows goodness. It's a very short bracha, but we shouldn't be fooled by its brevity. It's not always so easy to say these words, at least not say them and mean them. Goodness can feel so hard to find. Some days actually feel as if their sole purpose is to convince us that the last shred of goodness has been plucked from the world, and the pain around us can be chilling. So how do we invoke God's goodness with this background? To me, this is the essential question that religious communities have to answer in 2016. It's our job to create a space in the world in which the goodness that is pregnant in each and every one of us is fully alive and perceptible. And our Hasidic masters teach us that this goodness that each one of us have in our hearts was implanted in us when we ourselves were planted in that garden. And so while fear and anger and selfishness and greed paint the canvas of life in 2016, and it paints this canvas with strokes of black and white, we have the power to add color by acting toward one another with chesed, with love, and with kindness. In Yeats's poem, He Remembers Forgotten Beauty, he offers us an image that I'm really drawn to, an image that I think paints a picture of what a shul needs to be. When my arms wrap you round, I press my heart upon the loveliness that has long faded from the world. Through a simple embrace, a hug at a Shiva home, a greeting when someone walks into the sanctuary, an embrace on the dance floor at a wedding. This one simple act, an embrace, has the power to open our hearts to the loveliness that can feel so elusive in our world. And what you have built here at Bethel, and what we will continue to build in this synagogue, must be a place in which we will feel, not know, but feel the abundant blessings afforded to us in this moment. My aspiration for the synagogue is that it will be a place in which the heart of every single person who enters, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of their age, their religious identity, that every single person will feel that his or her heart opens up to the loveliness that surely has not faded from the world, despite the cynicism and hatred that we see so often around us. So what will it take to build this vision? So Barry mentioned that you'll hear my vision in fits and starts. So I'm just going to share the whole thing right now. My dream really is that first and foremost within these walls, there will be an echo of music, of singing. That prayer will come alive in unpredictable ways, in ways that connect us, that touch our soul, and sometimes, because life is messy, prayer will also feel messy. And that every person who enters our sanctuary will know that the clergy can't build this alone. We just can't. That all of you will enter into that space knowing that is your responsibility to build that kind of community together along with us. And I also dream that Bethel will be an incubator for pride. Pride at our mere survival and the stunning fact that we continue to thrive in our own homeland despite the odds. Pride at the ways in which our people have changed the intellectual history of Western civilization, and pride at the way that we will continue to be a source of justice for the world. And I dream that Bethel will be a place in which kids from birth all the way through high school will want to be here all the time, because they will feel from us that we believe there is nothing more important than in the entire world than those kids. And that this place will be full of Pied Pipers, of educators and youth directors and clergy and you, and we will bring kids in here and make this their default place to be. And here's what I want for all of us individually. And some of this will surely not resonate with you. You'll think, oh, David wants this for me. I really am not so interested in that. Some of it will resonate, some of it will not. But I want to give you a sense of how I envision my service to the community. I want us to feel challenged to go deeper, to be kinder, to be more accepting and more open, to engage Judaism more seriously, to question a lot, but not in arrogance, but in humility. To fall in love with Israel, while at the same time being clear-eyed about her challenges. To add another mitzvah to your life, to study, and then to study some more, and then when you think you've learned enough, to study some more, and not because you're looking for information and knowledge, but because you're seeking wisdom. I want you to be curious about the person sitting next to you, just because something about their life will interest you, and perhaps even change your own life, not because you're networking. That wasn't a joke. I'd love for all of us to give one another the benefit of the doubt, to break bread together. And not just with your friends, but with people who want to celebrate Shabbat with someone. To become spiritual seekers, to instill a sense that if you feel alienated, bereft, or spiritually broken, you are as welcome here as anyone else. And to pray the prayer that is in your heart that needs to be prayed but which you feel embarrassed to say out loud. That you will feel inspired to turn the aspiration of justice into action as we use our power and our resources to support our brothers and sisters in Israel and throughout the world, and those who are down the street, who can't find enough money or resources for their next meal or for their children's backpacks. To remember to be gracious to us, even when we disappoint you. To remind ourselves that just because we might know something more than the person next to us, it doesn't make us any better than them. It does not make us a better Jew. To remember that tenderness is a rare commodity in today's society, and you can change a life by extending it to the right person at the right time. To remember that there is no such thing. It is not Jewish to think that there is one interpretation, one way, one halakha, one law, one path. To know that Judaism is supple, and it's changed throughout the generations. And it changed in order to accommodate the needs of that historical moment, and that you will trust that it will survive, not despite those changes, but because of them. That we won't judge people for how they dress. We'll be so happy that they came to shul on Shabbos. To feel that you have God's ear. And when you feel that you don't, that you'll remember that you once did. And that will be enough to keep you trying to get God's attention. To remember that a prayer space without children running around, and with rigid adherence to proper sanctuary behavior, that will lead to proper decorum and the death of the synagogue in 2016. That we are desperate to have our children share that space with us. That each and every person, even those among us who are scared and lonely and ill, will find a way to become mindful of the fact that every breath that we have is a gift from God. And finally, to build a spiritual home like this, we need to ask you to be generous. To be generous about giving to this enterprise. And we shouldn't be ashamed to ask that, because it's an invitation for all of us to use our resources to build something that we believe is sacred. And if we can do this, a synagogue that is just vibrant and bustling with these values, each person who walks out of the larger world and into ours will feel moved to utter the words, Baruch Hatov v'Hametiv. Blessed is the one who is good and bestows goodness on others. And what I want to say now is hard for me to say. It's hard. I'm not just saying that. It's hard to say, and it's important for you to hear. That I will disappoint you. I will let you down. You will be angry with me. It's inevitable. I'll take too long to return your call. I won't be at Minyan as much as you want me or think I should be at Minyan. I won't be there for you when you need me. Because with thousands of people in the synagogue, it is impossible for me to meet all of your needs all of the time. And I really want you to make two promises to me. The first is that you just know I'm a normal human being. I'm working hard to dedicate myself to you and to be a father and a husband and friend. And that my intentions are always good. And the second promise is that when I do hurt you, you'll respect me enough to tell me, not other people. You'll come to me and give me the opportunity to look you in the eyes and seek your forgiveness. That is what will make our relationship sacred. And finally, it's important that this shul is a place of hakarat hatov, a place in which we freely say thank you. I want to first and foremost acknowledge the 43 years of dedicated service that Rabbi Sterner gave to all of you. A greater mensch you will not find. And I am fully aware that any success that we have here together going forward is built on his determined leadership. And I feel really privileged to continue working on that which he has built. The next thank you is I want to thank all of you. Tali and the kids and I have been overwhelmed at your kindness and your warmth. You've been patient with me. I don't have the Rabbi Sterner Jedi trick where I will remember every single name of 2,000-3,000 people. And you've been patient at introducing yourself and reintroducing yourself. And only one time in a year did I hear anyone say, do you remember my name? Which is a horrible thing to say to somebody. You've invited us for meals, you've embraced our children, and you've extended a warm smile at my stumbles. We feel really blessed to have landed in such a warm community with such a deep Jewish commitment and commitment to one another. So we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for embracing us and showing us kindness. I want to thank the professional staff of the synagogue. I've dreamed about being a part of a team for a long time. And I feel so blessed to collaborate with people who are so dedicated to building a transformational community. You are a gift to me, and I'm eager to show up to work every day because I know that I will find you here. Bethel is led by Sam Berger and a lay leadership team. And if you knew how many hours they put into building this community, you'd be astonished, or maybe you've done that before. So I want to thank all of the lay leaders in the community from the past and the current leadership for all of the support that you give to the professional staff. And I want to thank again, well, this is the first time for me, the co-chairs today, Chazan Ellen Aran and Mark Seidenfeld, and of course, the inimitable Erica Leventhal, who is peerless as an executive director, and who put so many hours into planning and executing this day. So thank you all. My family is here from Philadelphia, New Jersey, Brooklyn, Connecticut. Some are thinking of us here today from Israel. And I'm really grateful for the ways in which you have grounded me in the world and support me and love me. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the absence of my father. Who is not well enough to be here and has struggled for a long time with some horrible health issues. And he taught me what Jewish pride looks like. And if he could see that I ended up in a community as loving and as serious as this one, I know that he'd be so proud of me and happy for me. I try to keep that thought close to my heart as often as I can. Oh, I thought I was going to just breeze right now. And finally, I want to thank Tali, the most beautiful soul of any person I know. It is not easy to be married to a congregational rabbi. 13-hour days, the weeks without a day off, and so on. Tali's love is what sustains me and our children, and there isn't a day in which I'm unaware of that. Because of you, my heart opens to the loveliness of the world. So thank you. I'm going to be so much trouble for mentioning Tali. I'm just so excited about what we're going to build here together. And I'm asking you to please, please, please be a partner in this. Be active in this. We need you as partners in building the future of Bethel more than ever. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hatov v'hametiv. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who is good and who bestows goodness to others. Amen.
Just like Rabbi Schuck has asked us, we're going to play our special rock mitzvah horror for you. Everybody have a great time.